Saturday. Y'all don't got a quarterback. Someone took y'all quarterback.
We're done.
It's bad.
We're done.
Bad.
Hire Tommy.
No, fire time. Damn, I'm not.
Okay, everyone, we're about to get started. If we can find our seats, silence our cell phones as I am doing, I greatly appreciate it. And if we can close the side doors, whoever's closest to the side doors and the back door, I also greatly appreciate that. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Wednesday, the 13th day of December in the year 2023. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 6:03 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley. Welcome back. Councilperson Prinzary.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah.
Councilperson Soleil will be here shortly. Councilperson Solomon. Councilperson Gilmore.
Present.
Councilperson DeGise. She'll be here, okay. Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman. We have 7 members in attendance at 6:03 p.m. May we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Waterman and members of the Municipal Council, in accordance with the New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall, which is the annual notice, is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2023, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, December 15th, 2022. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, December 8th, 2023 at 5:55 p.m. to the mayor, municipal council, business administrator, corporation council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council members, before we move forward, and not on your printed agenda, is an item that was discussed at the agenda meeting, but unfortunately didn't make it because we had an issue with iCompass. But it is item 10.42, Resolution 23-945 is a resolution rescinding Resolution 23-812 and appointing Jennifer Moore as a member of the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency. Since it did not make the agenda, it is a late item, so I'm going to need a vote and a motion to add item 10.42, Resolution 23-945 to the agenda.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Rivera. May I have a second? Second by Councilperson Prinzary. Let's just make sure our mics are on. On the motion to add item 10.42, Resolution 23-945 to the agenda, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Soleil is not here yet. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise is not here yet. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Council President Waterman. Okay. Motion carries 7-0 with council members Soleil and DeGise absent. Okay, on to our first reading ordinances. If I can just read them into the record, and if there's any changes that need to be made to one of the first reading ordinances, we'll do that right after I read them into the record. Starting with item 3.1, City Ordinance 23-126 is an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 160, Fees and Charges, Chapter 296, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Rights of Way, Article 1, General Provisions, Duties of Property Owners and Occupants, Article 2, Closure of the Public Right of Way, Article 3, excavations, within the public right of way, and Chapter 345 zoning, Article 4, fees, deposits, and inspections. Item 3.2, City Ordinance 23-127, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designated a reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 23-128, an ordinance revising the street names in the Bayfront redevelopment site. Council members, before I ask for a vote on the first reading ordinances, I believe First Assistant Corporation Counsel Brittany Murray is going to address us with regards to item 3.1, City Ordinance 23-126.
There's going to be no change. We're going to introduce as is.
Okay, never mind on that. Thank you. That makes it easy. All right, council members. So with that being said, on items 3.1 through 3.3, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye for introduction, and on 3.1, I'd like a little more explanation on this for the next meeting.
All right, council members, we just got to make sure our mics are on because I'm not hearing you and I'm really close to you.
Mike's on.
There you go. That's better.
All right, I on all, but on 3.1, I'd like some further information from the business.
I wasn't picking on you, Councilperson Baggiano. It was just, it's a general statement. Anyway, thank you. Councilperson Saleh is not here. Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
I'm going to vote aye for introduction. With regards to 3.1, I would really like to see the fees congruent to the regular double parking fees. So we look to have further discussion about that, but I'll vote aye for introduction.
Thank you. Councilperson DeGise is not here yet. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
Council President Waterman. Items 3.1 through 3.3 are introduced 7-0 with council members Saleh and DeGise absent. Okay, council members, before we move on to our second reading ordinances, I believe it's in the intention of Councilperson Rivera to defer to item 10.33, resolution 23-936. So I need a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Council President Waterman. Seconded by Councilperson Rivera. On the motion to defer to item 10.33, resolution 23-936, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 7-0 to defer to item 10.33, resolution 23-936 with council members Saleh and DeGise absent. Councilperson Rivera, would you like to read it into the record?
Steve. You have it up? Yes, I'll read it up. I'll read it. Oh, he doesn't. No. Up here. Yeah, we'll just vote.
Okay,
Where's Timmy?
so we'd like to invite Timmy Lawrence up to the podium. Tim, before we're going to actually take a vote on it first, and then we'll probably ask you to say a little something afterwards. Hopefully it gets passed. I don't want to anticipate it's not. All right, so council members, we're going to go right to the vote on resolution 23-936. Councilperson Ridley.
Timmy, we know that you are always there, helping us out, helping the city out. We see you everywhere. You are an asset to the city of Jersey City. With that, I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary.
So Timmy, over the last 6 years, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and work with you. And thank you for everything you do within our communities. Also, on a personal note, thank you for helping me get out of an elevator with an issue I have with my car. You always go above and beyond, no matter what time of day it is. I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Baggiano.
Hey, I agree with the other two, and congratulations. Yes, of course.
Councilperson Slay is not here yet. Councilperson Solomon.
For the folks watching at home and in the audience, if there's any emergency, any type of incident in Jersey City, and it can be at 6 a.m., 10 p.m., 2 a.m., if one of us goes there, the first person you will see there is this man. He cares so much about Jersey City, and he does extraordinary work that a lot of folks don't know about. So I appreciate everything you do for the city. I appreciate it. 3 a.m. getting coffee at Dunkin' Donuts to try to bring back to Via. Anytime that the city needs you, you're there. So I very proudly vote aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Dude, I don't even know what your job is. You're literally everywhere. But I do want to just thank you for your service, man. You've helped me out several times. Like I said, I don't even know if it was within your job description or whatever. You're just a caring person, caring, genuine person. So I proudly vote aye.
Councilperson DeGise is absent. Councilperson Rivera.
Oh, boy. So there's a lot to say about this, right? So I've known this guy here since he was a kid. I was actually one of his coaches when he was in baseball. And Timmy is a special kind of character, man. You grow to love this guy. I won't tell you the stories of Florida and when we did travel ball, but he is definitely a character. But I just want to just share with you that, to be honest with you, the Department of Public Safety will have a problem if you don't have Timmy on that, if they don't have Timmy on their side. This guy right here is an amazing asset to this department. He, there's so much that he does that there's not enough time to just highlight it all. But I just wanted to tell you, last council meeting that we had here, we were here till about midnight. And, contentious council meeting, and Timmy was assigned from, to the OEM department, and he was back here. When the meeting concluded, Timmy was going home, and he actually drove right by a working fire, which turned out to be a 3-alarm fire. 4 structures were completely involved, and Timmy got out his vehicle and started to alert the families that were in those buildings to get the hell out. So, to have this gentleman working for our city is 100% priceless. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I did tell him that he didn't have to say anything, but I think we all want him to say something. And I definitely vote aye. Love you, brother.
Not to put pressure on you, but they did ask what you did, so you may have to say something. I'm just saying. Council President Waterman.
Timmy, thank you for your service. Every time there's a fire, you can rest assured that he's there helping anyone that needs help. So with that, I proudly vote aye. Thanks, Timmy.
Resolution 23-936 is approved, 7-0, with council members Soleil and DeGise absent. Congratulations, Tim.
Thank you.
Tim, not to put you on the spot, but I know you didn't want to say anything, but maybe you just want to just let them know how important you really are to the police force.
I just want to say thank you, but there's nothing really to say. I just come to work and just do my job. That's it. But thank you and a special thanks to Danny and to all of you. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
You said it all. That's good enough. Congratulations again, Tim.
We'll get your resolution for you later on. You got to stay till 11:30.
Talking about punishment, thought we were honoring him. All righty. On to our second reading ordinances. Our first second reading ordinance is item 4.1, City Ordinance 23-097, is an ordinance of the City of Jersey City in the County of Hudson, New Jersey, approving the execution of an amended and reinstated water services franchise and service agreement between the city and the Jersey City Municipal Utilities Authority to increase the payments to the city. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record. Okay, motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-097 was made by Council President Waterman, seconded by Councilperson Rivera. On the motion to close the public hearing, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano. To close the public hearing,
Close it, Rich.
and Councilperson Saleh, I'm going to mark you present. 6:18 PM. So we now have 8 council members present at 6:18. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson DeGise is absent. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-097 is approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-097, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
No, because I believe it's going to increase our water rates.
Thank you, Councilperson Saleh.
I'm going to vote aye. I know there's some concerns regarding this. Believe that I spoke with bond counsel earlier and they told me that this can be renegotiated at a later date. If another council wanted to renegotiate it, but the taxpayers need tax relief now. That I vote aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Yeah, I'm going to vote no. A couple concerns, just want to put on the record. I worry about the interest rates that the MUA will pay on the bonds to pay the upfront payment. I worry that those interest rates will be increased by the local finances board's negative findings on that. And ultimately, given that rates are going to be increasing, given our infrastructure payments, I think that is too much to put on the ratepayers, ultimately, the people who pay the water and sewer rates. I had hoped that, the administration and MUA could have worked on a smaller version of this, smaller in length, smaller in dollar amounts, that I think would have been more responsible given the current situation that we're in. So with that, I vote no.
Thank you, Councilperson Gilmore.
Also going to vote no. I'm just not comfortable given the level of uncertainty of how much of an impact it's going to have. It says a minor, haven't divulged what a minor impact was. And I'm just not comfortable because water rates are like through the roof already. I'm extremely scared for increase in water bills. So I'll vote no.
Councilperson Gilmore, if you can just repeat a couple of things that you said when you just left off, because your mic not, yeah, there you go.
Yes, I said I'm gonna vote no. I just don't feel comfortable given the reasons, rationales, and they said it's gonna be a minor impact. They never divulge what that minor impact is gonna look like. And I just don't want to be in a position where we're charging more for water, as water rates have already risen. So I'm voting no.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-097 is adopted 5-3, with council members Bajano, Solomon, and Gilmore voting no. Okay, council members, our next second reading ordinance, which is item 4.2, City Ordinance 23-105, is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-5, One-Way Streets, and Section 332-7, Prohibited Turns at Intersections, and Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-22, Parking Prohibited at All Times, to convert Wayne Street into a two-way street between Marin Boulevard and Grove Street. Council members, I believe at the caucus, it was the intention of Councilperson Solomon to make a motion to defeat City Ordinance 23-105. Is that correct?
Yes, and I just say on the record what I said at caucus, which was what we had committed to do was a full review of alternatives to this proposal. The plan had been to do those in the last month. That didn't happen, and so we honor our commitment. So we're going to defeat the ordinance, which means it's just removed from the agenda. We will have a review with traffic and engineering. We'll return to the community with their review of the different options. And so anything that would restart at the beginning and wouldn't be back on the agenda. So we'll just start with a clean slate. So with that, I'll make the motion to remove it from the agenda.
So you're making a motion to defeat City Ordinance
Thank you.
23-105. May I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilperson Rivera. On the motion to defeat City Ordinance 23-105, Councilperson Ridley. It's just a motion.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and the defeation of Ordinance 23-105. So you're going to have to vote, if you're defeating the ordinance, you're going to have to vote no. Councilperson Ridley.
No.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajano.
Oh,
Councilperson Saleh.
No.
Councilperson Solomon.
No.
Councilperson Gilmore.
No.
Councilperson Rivera.
No.
And Council President Waterman. I haven't heard that many no's since I was an infant. City Ordinance 23-105 is defeated 0-8 with all council members voting no and Councilperson DeGise absent. Thought I'd get a laugh at everybody on that one. All right, on to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.3, City Ordinance 23-118 is an ordinance amending Chapter 90 Animals, Article 3 Dogs and Other Animals, Section 12 Definitions, and Chapter 160 Fees and Charges. Section 14 Permits and Fees, subsection E Animals, to add and increase fees for animal control and animal shelter services. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-118 was made by Council President Waterman, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-118, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajano.
aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera. And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-118, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
I'm going to abstain on this one because I think we should be encouraging more people to take animals and everything and not increasing fees. I'll abstain.
Okay, Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-118 is adopted 7-0-1 with Councilperson Bajano abstaining and Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.4, City Ordinance 23-119. This is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-5, One-Way Streets, and Section 332-9, Stop Intersections, to convert Bramhall Avenue between Van Horn Street and Pacific Avenue into a one-way street in the westbound direction and convert Bramhall Avenue and Woodward Street into an all-way stop intersection. I believe at the caucus, Councilperson Ridley wanted to make a motion to carry City Ordinance 23-119 to the January 10th, 2024 council meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the motion to carry City Ordinance 23-119 to the January 10th, 2024 meeting was made by Councilperson Ridley. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to carry City Ordinance 23-119 to the January 10th, 2024 council meeting, Councilperson Ridley.
I just want to say, as was discussed in the caucus meeting, there are some residents that reached out to the Ward F office in regards to changing the street. We are having a meeting the first week in January. There are some residents that don't necessarily live on Bramhall, but live in the immediate area who'd like to weigh in. So we're bringing the residents of Bramhall, as this was a request from residents of Bramhall, along with other residents in the area to have a meeting. And then we'll revisit this at the January meeting after that community meeting.
You're gonna have a community meeting?
Yeah, I'll give you the information, Laverne.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, with that, I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.5, City Ordinance 23-120 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-9, Stop Intersections to designate the intersection of Dudley Street and Warren Street and Dudley Street and Washington Street into a multi-way stop control intersections. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion. Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-120 was made by Council President Waterman, seconded, and a close second, by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-120, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-120 is approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-120, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-120 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.6, City Ordinance 23-121. It's an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping, amending Section 332-22, Parking Prohibited at All Times, and Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for Street Cleaning Purposes on Bennett Street between Egie Avenue and Clark Avenue. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-121 was made by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-121, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 121, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Just want to thank our traffic division for doing the study to reopen parking on Bennett Street once we learned that it technically the ordinance was closed on both sides for getting some much needed parking in the area. I vote aye.
Thank you, Councilperson Fagiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-121 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.7, City Ordinance 23-122 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing and Stopping, amending Section 332-31, parking restrictions for street cleaning purposes on Central Avenue between Route 139 and Newark Avenue. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-122 was made by Councilperson Saleh, seconded by Councilperson Solomon. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-122, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-122, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-122 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.8. City Ordinance 23-123 is a franchise ordinance granting permission to Deval Patel and Jasrishi Manapi pursuant to resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Jersey City under case P22-199, allowing the installation of stoops, bay windows, and planting beds which encroach and extend into the right-of-way beyond the boundary lines of Lot 33, Block 8502, and are the benefit of Lot 33, Block 8502, land now and formerly of Deval Patel and Jasrishi Manapi, and commonly known as 352 Pavonia Avenue, Jersey City, New Jersey. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-123 was made by Councilperson Saleh. May I have a second?
Second.
Second was made by Councilperson Solomon. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-123, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-123, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano.
Abstain on it because I don't know if the people in the,
And here, Councilperson.
I'm going to abstain on this.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
No.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Okay, City Ordinance 23-123 is approved 6-1-1 with Councilperson Gilmore voting no and Councilperson Bajiano abstaining and Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next second reading ordinance, item 4.9, City Ordinance 23-124 is an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting amendments to the Newport and Horseman's Cove Station redevelopment plans. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
So motion was made by Councilperson Rivera. It was a really close motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-124 and seconded by Council President Waterman. On a motion to close the public hearing, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary,
Aye.
Councilperson Bajano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. As stated at the caucus meeting, council members, and attached to the ordinance online for everybody who's watching at home and everybody who is on their cell phone that can pull up the ordinance, there is an attachment that has the redevelopment plan that has amendments to it. I did take the mercy of numbering the plan. So on page 12, anything you see in green highlight is the amendments that are going to take place on the redevelopment plan. So on the first page 12 on the top, it said at all times. On page 13, only in southern residential area. On page 19, striking out helicopters subject to the requirement enumerated in section 6A above. Helistops for tourism is prohibited. And page 22, highlighted in green, helistops is stricken out. This is all stricken out of the redevelopment plan, subject to the requirement of enumerated in section 6A above. Helistops for tourism is prohibited. Did I cover all the amendments, Councilperson Solomon?
You did, yes.
Okay. So on that, before we make the motion to amend, I'm just going to ask Corporation Counsel, is any of those amendments a substantial change to the ordinance?
No, not substantial.
On that, may I have a motion to amend City Ordinance 23-124?
Motion. Second.
I'm going to give the motion to Councilperson Solomon. It was close, but I will give the second to Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to amend City Ordinance 23-124, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary, Councilperson Bajano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. City motion to amend Ordinance 23-124 is approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-124 as amended, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary, Councilperson Bajano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-124 is adopted 8-0 as amended with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our last second reading ordinance, item 4.10, City Ordinance 23-125 is an ordinance to cancel fourth quarter omitted added assessment for the 2019 real estate tax year on block 21401, lot 29, block 5906, lot 14, block 17803, lot 6, block 23001, lots 32.01, block 29601, lot 38, block 14905, lot 34, and block 30101, lot 26 on the official tax map of the City of Jersey City due to erroneous assessments. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-125 was made by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Saleh. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 23-125, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary,
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-125, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-125 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. Before we move on to our public speaking portion of the meeting, Councilperson Saleh, can I catch you up on the introduction vote on first reading
Yes.
ordinances, items 3.1 through 3.3?
Yep.
And you were voting yes?
Yes, sir. I'm voting yes.
Okay. So just to recap, the vote on ordinances 3.1 through 3.3. Official vote now is 8-0. They're all introduced 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. Okay, council members, as discussed at the caucus, before we move on to our public speakers, we have 2 orders of business, and I believe we're going to remove 2 ordinances. I'm sorry if I'm not speaking to the mic. 2 ordinances from the tabled agenda. Just let me read them. Okay, got them. So you need a motion to remove item 11.3, City Ordinance 23-017 from the tabled agenda. We're going to take them one at a time. I'll read it into the record. It's an ordinance. It's ordinance number 23-017, an ordinance amending Chapter 3 of the Jersey City Code, Administration of Government, Article 10, Department of Housing, Economic Development and Commerce, assigning enforcement, lead hazard control, assistance act to the Division of Housing Preservation. May I have a motion to remove item 11.3, City Ordinance 23-017 from the tabled agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilperson Prinzary. Oh, sorry.
Back, Sean.
Ugh.
You know what? You're back. That's right. That's right. I got to get used to that voice. You slipped me up. All right. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. And the second was made by Councilperson Saleh?
Yeah.
Okay, I did get that right. On the motion to remove item 11.3, City Ordinance 23-017 from the tabled agenda, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary,
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. For final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 23-017, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary,
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-017 is adopted 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. In case anyone was wondering, City Ordinance 23-017 was tabled after the close of the public hearing, just like the next one was tabled after the close. So that's why we're not holding public hearings on this, because it was already done at a previous meeting. Okay, council members, next item is item 11.4, City Ordinance 23-018. It's an ordinance supplementing Chapter 160, Fees and Charges, Section 1, Fee Schedule established, subsection 10, Chapter 254, Property Maintenance, establishing a fee for lead-based hazard inspection of residential units pursuant to pamphlet law 2021C 182 and amending Chapter 254 Property Maintenance to include the registration of properties for compliance under the Lead Hazard Control Assistance Act. Council members, I need a motion to remove item 11.4 City Ordinance 23-018 from the tabled agenda.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Ridley. May I have a second?
Second.
I'm going to give the close second to Councilperson Prince Airy, even though Councilperson Saleh was louder. On the motion to remove item 11.4, City Ordinance 23-1018 from the tabled agenda, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion carries 8-0. Councilperson DeGise absent. So as discussed at the caucus, we're looking to amend ordinance 23-018, and it's on page 2, which is attached to the ordinance. It is titled amendment. It's in under section 4 of chapter 254 property maintenance, section 4 inspections made for lead-based hazards. A, inspection fee payable to property owner in the amount, and we're striking out 200 and adding $250. So I'm going to ask our first assistant corporation counsel if this is a substantial change.
It is a substantial change.
So council members, we're going to amend it first, and I will give you instructions on what we're going to do after we amend the ordinance. So council members, as discussed at the caucus, I need a motion to amend City Ordinance 23-018 to include the change the fee from $200 to $250.
Motion.
I'm going to give that motion to Councilperson Rivera. I'm going to give a quick second to the Council President Waterman, to be fair. On the motion to amend City Ordinance 23-018, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Motion to amend City Ordinance 23-018 is approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. So council members, since this amendment is a substantial change, I need a motion to reintroduce City Ordinance 23-018 for a public hearing to be held on January 10th, 2024. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Excuse me, on the motion. I need-
Motion.
Sorry, I'm moving fast. So I'm going to give the second to Councilperson Ridley since she was ready to say aye right away. On the motion to reintroduce ordinance 23-018, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy, Councilperson Bajiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. The motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. So on the vote of introduction of City Ordinance 23-018, it's just procedural. Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy,
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano, Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. City Ordinance 23-018 is introduced 8-0 with the amendment, and Councilperson DeGise absent. Before we move on to our public speakers, another order of business. I know Councilperson Gilmore has to leave us. So before he does, I just want to I'm hearing moans over there. Before he does, I just want to take his vote on the claims and addendums number 1, 2, and 3.
Aye.
And I'm going to take you slowly but surely through our resolutions. Items 10.1 through 10.13. Again, items 10.1 through 10.13.
Aye.
Okay. Items 10.14 through 10.23. 10.14 to 10.23.
Aye.
Losing my place. Next, item 10.24 through 10.34. Item 10.24 to 10.34.
Aye.
Sorry. I thought we were keeping him until 11:30. Shh, he didn't hear that. And lastly, items 10.35 through 10.42, which was the late item that was added, Councilperson
And the
Gilmore.
late item is, that's Garden State, correct?
No. The late item is the resolution rescinding Resolution 23-812,
Oh, okay.
appointing Jennifer Moore as a member of the Jersey City Redevelopment Agency.
Okay. I'm going to abstain on 38. I didn't receive the memo. I thought it was sent yesterday. I didn't check today. So I'm going to abstain on that, and then I'll vote no on 40. I do appreciate Finance Director sending us a breakdown. Although I would like to see a more detailed breakdown. I do see it's 1,118 properties for excess of 20,500,000. I would have really liked to see the beginning amount, what we assessed it at versus what it was ultimately supposed to be assessed at. I think ultimately we have to get in front of this to make sure we're not going before the board with so many cases. So in light of that, I'll vote no on that. I'll abstain on 38 and aye on the rest.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Gilmore. You are now dismissed. All right. Again, another little hiccup before we move on to public speakers. I just want to get my signature on this important resolution to Tim Lawrence. So if you want to come up and get the resolution from the council, do you guys want to take a quick picture? We're going to take a quick picture, Tim. Councilman Rivera said you can be released before 11:30, so that's why we're giving you the reso now. Congratulations again, Tim. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. We're going to move on to our public speaking portion of the meeting. Please be reminded, I will be calling the agenda number and your first name. So with that being said, our first public speaker, 5.1, Laverne.
It's okay. What we need to do is we got to pay more focus on our housing in Jersey City, especially affordable housing. I'm very proud of the council that approved the Webb building as a housing authority takeover. And the people up there are very happy. They cleaned it up. They locked the door. They can sleep at night, that people are not trying to sneak into their building. So to that, I say thank you for that. And the other thing is we got to do something more about our mental health, There's some kids today, 12 years old. I don't know who keeps selling them Viper cigarettes, but they were off the chain up and down the avenue and fighting. And some little boy got shot on Union and Arlington the other morning. It's a disgrace what's going on in this city. And with all this development and new buildings going on, but who is really watching the storefront? And we need to focus on our young people in the school. Like this year, I'm not doing a toy drive. With my money and what I raise, I'm taking the kids skating, back to Chuck E. Cheese, do something that they can enjoy and take them off of the street. Because right now, our babies are losing it. When I had my camp this summer and seeing these kids, I had it for 2 months. And our kids can't read, write, spell. It's sad what's going on. And it's not enough after school programs because enough mothers are not really focusing. And we need to get a better connection with the parent in school. Because when I was in 22 school, I couldn't echo. My mother came over there and she would whoop me in front of the class. I know we're not allowed to hit kids no more, and that's why they act crazy. But we need to get a better parent and teacher relationship because there's a lot of single parent homes. That man sitting up there, he watched me as a young lady coming up. He made sure I walked a straight and narrow way. The Councilman Bogiani. That's why I'm proud of him. You know, we don't have that no more. There's no communication no more with the police, the fire department, and none of that. We need to focus on these young people, please, in housing. I thank you. Have a blessed night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.2, Tina.
Guys, first of all, I want to congratulate all of y'all for not changing the streets. I heard it about the new good news, which I did, Miss Denise. So I'd like to thank y'all for that. And second of all, what Miss Denise, what Ms. Laverne was saying, that's actually true. I thank God that we did get control of the well building because her name is exactly on it, and I do live on it in the building, and it is a different change of it. And that's what I mean as leaders. That's the stuff that we have to take care of it before it get bad like that. It should have never got that bad. As us being in the community, we should have known that and taken good care of that. Also, I want to say that I want to run, if I ran for election, I would run for nonprofit and community because nonprofit really suck. Like we don't get no type of help. And I started just letting the nonprofits to start coming out and just letting y'all know we are out here in the community and we should be able to find a spot that nonprofits is able to go in and to be help the community a lot. And Sean, I'd like to thank you and your family for doing that for me. I really appreciate you and your wife. Miss Denise, I'd like to thank you for calling me for my son because this was a depressing month right here because I've been helping the community and nobody was thinking about me and my son. And I really appreciate that because I didn't know which way to go for my child either. So that's what I talk about as us reaching out and helping us because this is all our community. This is not mine. I was born in Alabama, Birmingham. My bathroom was outside. I didn't have a bathroom like here in the city part like that. So for me to love and help the community, I believe all of us should come together and do the same thing. We say Jersey City is on the map, then let's really put it on the map because we're not on the map. We make believe map. We in fantasy, like we on that fake thing. No, we got to make sure we really do the right thing, guys. So guys, I just want y'all to all come together and just try to help all the nonprofits out there. If you see a space for us, just come together and just help us. And let's continue to brighten up our community. And justice for Drew, we'll never forget that name. We'll always carry that in our community. And enjoy your holiday, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Our next speaker, 5.3, Edward.
I'll begin with the ceasefire. So 305, the resolution was defeated. right? And so my first response was, this body is weak. It's weak, and it's a shame. So I did want to take some time to say that on record. Ms. Denise, you weren't here to be a part of that vote. I do wonder how you would have vote, but I do want to say that this is America, right? This is New Jersey, Jersey City. The Hudson River is right here. We're directly across from New York City. All of our relationship with immigration and people who migrate here from around the world, all of our relationship is actually colorful, right? And although we concentrate on what happened on October 7th, you'll know with this age that we live in now, information is brought to us so fast that the people of Palestine have been living. The people in the West Bank have been living under occupation since before October 7th, right? And a ceasefire now would do justice for both sides. The images that we get from war are so much different, the time that we live in now. It's not back in the day through radio, right? Or through just newspaper and then television, but social media, it does something to your psyche to see it. It does. And a ceasefire resolution is just that. It shows where we stand. You got, and under your leadership, City Council President, I just feel like if I was sitting in your seat, that would be first order of business. I mean, it's your prerogative to vote how you want to vote, but it's just more than important. It's just more than important. And back to my community, a CCRB, you've seen what happened in the State House. Let me tell you, I'm going to be down here every meeting because it's a 5-year pilot, but it's 120 days. So thank you, Ms. McKnight, but it's 120 days that internal affairs will have to review the injustice, or if we say it's an injustice, 120 days before we can get to our business. How do you expect the community to be comfortable with that if you're trying to build a new relationship with community and public safety and community policing? How can our board really have any power and be trustworthy? How can we bring that back to our community? That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice holiday.
Our next speaker, 5.4, Carrie.
Good evening. Happy holidays to everybody. I'm here to address the situation on Clinton Avenue between JFK and West Side. I came before to a couple weeks ago to gripe about the trash problem on Clinton Avenue, and the same trash is still there from the last couple of weeks. It hasn't moved. Approximately one tank of gas of an SUV to drive up and down our roads probably costs about $70 to $100. I'm approximating that is what it would cost to hire somebody on a part-time basis to come with some trash bags, some brooms, to clean up our road. Simply, I can't imagine what it would cost in order to do this. We are asking for extra help, extra boots on the ground, because this is a very heavily foot traffic block. We have as much foot traffic as JFK. We have as much foot traffic as West Side. There are people on our block 24/7, and there's lots of litter on our block. It seems like a very fixable problem to address, to clean the streets, and to have someone come by on a very part-time basis just to do this. Please help us out. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.5, Daniel.
Good evening, council members, and happy holidays to all of you. Councilman Solomon, what is your reason for not following the same procedures for the residents of Wayne Street that Councilwoman Ridley provided to the residents of Bramhall street changes?
He doesn't answer back, just go on.
Okay, thank you. Where are the 90% of residents that are in favor of this change? I haven't seen anyone in the last 2 council meetings. You stated at the October 23rd caucus meeting that you spoke to the Van Bourse Association, yet a high-ranking member of that association confirmed you never spoke at any of the meetings and only sent an email to the general email box. The main issue is between the days of Tuesday through Thursday, which is a current work schedule, and hours of 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. is when there are anywhere from 100 to 200 vehicles coming out of the garage at 95 Columbus, mostly at the same time. You can put this issue anywhere in the world and it will create traffic havoc. You can have a case study on this issue and it will demonstrate that it is too many vehicles for such an area. Making Wayne Street a two-way street is not going to accomplish anything, but create more traffic and, more importantly, more public safety issues. 95 Columbus has been there since 1986. Why, after 37 years, is this an issue now? Councilman Sullivan, are you going to accommodate the out-of-towners that are only in our area 144 days a year and who want to get home quicker? Or are you going to be with the residents in your ward that voted you in, pay taxes, and are here 365? The best solution of 95 Columbus and their problem is what my neighbor suggested. Have the building pay for an off-duty cop to direct traffic for them to get out. Again, this is not the residents' problem. It's 95 Columbus problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.6, Evelyn. Is Evelyn here? No? Okay, next, 5.7, Kara.
Good evening to the City Council, Council President Waterman. Happy holidays. My name is Kara Albanese. I'm a longtime resident of downtown Jersey City. I want to thank you for voting down Ordinance 23-105, the proposal to turn Wayne Street between Grove and Marin into a two-way street. It doesn't sound like this was done as a result of various voices dissension in the neighborhood that think turning Wayne two-way is bad. But I was happy to hear Councilman Solomon state that we will be starting with a clean slate. Thank you for that. It's my request that the City Council and Traffic and Engineering take into account the thoughts and opinions of the residents on Wayne Street, the surrounding streets, Safe Streets JC, Bike JC, and the Van Voorst Neighborhood Association when assessing any future changes. I've spoken here and emailed you all to express what a bad idea this is, and I stand behind what I've said in the past. Any change to our streets should serve the greater good of residents, making streets safer for pedestrians and bikers. The parking garage and building management in 95 Columbus should figure out other ways to deal with what boils down to a personal problem and not make it a permanent problem for all residents. Through talking with neighbors about the proposal, I learned that even on this one small street, there were a variety of concerns. Case in point, the concerns at the west end of the street were totally different than the concerns at the east end of the street that I was aware of. This highlights that talking to people who live on our street, especially talking to people who live on streets like mine, a more complex street that serves many purposes, is extremely important when proposing changes. To that end, I ask that myself and my neighbors be kept informed of any future possible changes to our specific street. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Okay, next, 5.8, Natasha.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Natasha Brown, and I thank you for allowing me to stand before you today.
It's up, Mike. Pick your mic up.
I'm sorry. In 2019, I was working at an after-school program, and I met a young lady. She was 9 years old, and she told me she hated herself. When I asked her, why would you hate yourself at the age of 9? She said she was being bullied in school for her hair. At that moment, my nonprofit, the Cuts for Kids project, was born because I realized if she was being bullied, I'm sure there was thousands of others. So in March of 2020, Cuts for Kids was born. However, we were immediately shut down because COVID hit. So we really just got underway in 2022. I started serving with 5 children a week. I'm now serving about 200. I'm currently working with Jersey City Anti-Violence, Hudson Partnership, CMO. I work out of public school number 40, 34, and 15. But I am so disappointed in my city. I've taught over 20 years of my life. I have fostered for 16 years of my life, fostering over 40 children, adopting 3, and I have 4 of my own and 7 grandchildren. I'm now having, if you ask me to write a lesson plan, I can do that in less than 10 minutes. But if you ask me to write a grant, I'm clueless. So I have leeches coming at me, asking for $5,000 plus 10% of the grant, $7,000 plus 10% of the grant. I also work with the senior citizens. Better Tomorrow's heard of what I was doing, and they gave me a salon at the Lafayette Village in downtown Jersey City. I got so flustered about a few months ago. I was telling Tina, who's another person who does so much for this community, who I'm thankful to have the pleasure of knowing, I just wanted to throw in the towel. An 86-year-old woman who lived in that subsidy housing called me and she said, Natasha, do you think I come get my hair done once a month because I need my hair done? I come get my hair done because you and your team, or other than the residents, are the only people I see. I was back in the back in that building the next week. She said, I only get $1,100 a month. After my bills, I'm left with $2, but I'll give you all if you come back. I was back that next week. Of course, I didn't take her money, but I just feel that it should be more. 90% of what I do, 90% comes out of my pocket. I live in housing, so that lets you know where my financial status stands. But I will give every dime to help these kids and these seniors. I don't want a handout. I just need a little assistance, some help.
Thank you.
If you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Call my office, Tasha.
Our next speaker, 5.9, Mauna. Mauna here, 5.9? No? Next, 5.10, Ann.
Excuse me. My name is Ann.
Just make sure you bring the mic to you.
My name is Ann Harwood. I'm here on behalf 23-105 Wayne Street. And I'd like to first of all say thank you for listening to us and delaying a vote and until more work and more studies have been done. But I also felt it would be very important to point out what a ridiculous idea this is to begin with. And to that end, I took some photographs because photographs is worth a lot. This is a photograph of how much 95 takes over the entire block. It is one side of the street, 3 or 4 garage openings. There is a loading dock. It completely monopolizes the street. Then, this is just giving you an idea of what it's like. This is the intersection of Wayne and Marin with one little truck parked at the end of Wayne and how it blocks now one way the street, completely clogs it up. Can't turn, you can't go through. And last, this is a photograph I took on December 8th at 5:30 p.m. I believe that was Friday. It is not even the heaviest time for, these are people coming and going from the subway, crossing Wayne or trying to, while cars are pulling out of Wayne. It is a nightmare. Mothers with baby carriages, it is crowded. And my question mostly is, everybody's got to wait. People have to wait at the line to cross. People have to wait at the end of the intersection to pull around. What is the hurry that these cars exiting 95 are in that they can't also wait like the rest of humanity to get out and get home. We all want to get out and get home and do it safely. So I just want to bring everyone's attention. And the only last thing I'll mention is double lines. Double lines in two-way streets provide safety. You cannot do that on Wayne Street.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.11, Jim. Is Jim here? 5.11? No? Next, 5.12, Jordy. Is Jordy here? Nope. Next, 5.13, Gerald. I don't see him. Not here. 5.14, Philip.
Carrington, Council President Obama, members of the City Council, and to the Honorable Record Gallagher. My name is Phil Carrington. I really came to speak today on
We can't hear you, Phil.
the improper policing. And there's many forms of improper policing. My issue really is improper policing in terms of the fire department. I must put that on the side for clarity. If Council President Obama was wrong, she know I would tell the public in front of her face that she's wrong. But I think she's right not to deal with this ceasefire issue. It is imbalanced and unfair. Why am I saying it's unfair? You see, the Palestinians are complaining that the Israelis in the north are overpowering them with power, killing them, and seizing their land. Well, the people from southern Sudan are saying the same thing about the Arabs in the north are doing the same exact thing. You are a two-faced hypocrite to come here and only ask for a ceasefire in Palestine and ignoring the same exact behavior is happening in Sudan. You see, they're also in the UN asking the same question. It is hypocrisy. And so this is not the place to address that issue or ask for that issue to be raised. And if you are going to raise such an issue, you need balance, you need parity, you need to be fair. I can understand all of that, but you just can't ignore the facts. All Black people are not ignorant, and the Palestinians are hypocrites because they are asking for, again, a ceasefire and asking to be treated properly when they are ill-treating Black people in Sudan. They're Palestinians living in northern Sudan as white people. If they're not in a part of the militia that's murdering Black people, they are living there watching it go on. And so you cannot ask for a ceasefire in Palestine, but you're taking part of firing and slaughtering and raping Black people in Sudan. It is not fair. Secondly, the #1 humanitarian crisis in the world is not in Palestine. Yes, 1.2 million people. But in DRC, I always do it right, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has the largest humanitarian crisis in the world, where 27 million Black people are being displaced. 1.2 million people in Palestine, 27. I see a whole lot of trucks feeding Palestinians, and not one person, not one truck feeding Black people in the Congo. You cannot come here with ignorance. Get your facts before you come. I'm Phil Carrington. That's my viewpoint. Good night.
Good night, Phil.
Thank you. Next speaker, 5.15, Cameron.
Hello, my name is Cameron from Ward C. So I do agree. It would be great if the council wanted to take a position on some of these other issues that my neighbor was talking about. U.S. is involved in all sorts of conflicts around the world for the benefit of U.S. corporations, including Sudan, the Congo, and all over the world. Palestine is one of those places. And, I mean, I think in Sudan, United States is supporting one militia to support another big power that's supporting another militia. And we gotta, United States needs to stop funding different militias in different countries to promote conflict. I mean, that's kind of everywhere. It needs to stop doing that. But that includes in Palestine, where spends $4 billion every year to support a government that is extremely right-wing fascist government that's bombing children. I was really disappointed in the council last week. Those who abstained. Thank you very much to council members Gilmore and Saleh and Bogiano for taking a stand. It was very important that you did that and took a lot of courage. The reasons that were given, I felt were not really honest. Some people said it was divisive, but the language of the resolution talks about how we're in a city with so many different communities that come together and support each other's, religions and faiths and traditions and stuff like that, and how we need, a department or a way for people who are victims of hate crimes to reach out and get help and stuff like that. And then for a ceasefire to stop the killing. How is that divisive? And one council member said we had to come up with a resolution that everyone was going to agree with. Well, one of the main people against the ceasefire was that leading the charge in Jersey City was a former officer in the IDF. What are you talking about? We have to come up with a resolution that a former IDF officer is going to agree with? Come on, that's not honest. Another council member, when we met with them, I was disappointed. They said, well, actually the whole council, it's not responsibility of the council to take positions on international affairs. Well, 2 years ago, voted on a resolution for the U.S. to stop sending weapons to Philippines. So why is Palestine an exception? You're not being consistent. It's not honest. Anyway, I also want to talk about the CCRB. We need more support from the council to get a stronger CCRB. Maybe you can meet with other reps in Jersey City that haven't supported it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron.
Next. 5.16, Tara. Is Tara here? Okay.
At the heart of all conflict, global, local, and personal, is the deeply felt human need for connection to a stable home, a sense of safety from threats to one's existence. Its significance is recognized in Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in December 1948 because of humanity's experience of the Second World War. The anticipation of losing one's home, that sense of safety from threats to one's existence, is the most anxiety-provoking feeling a person can experience. It represents the complete loss of control of one's own life and imprints a trauma onto one's psyche. That trauma then becomes inherited as dysfunction in new generations, and that dysfunction becomes retained as culture. The exact process is true of the body politic when corrupt measures are taken to maintain control of one's seat at the table. Corrupt government dysfunction is retained as its culture. And like trauma, political dysfunction breeds a removed silence from one's partners. I only lived in Jersey City briefly before COVID lockdown started, and I lost the job that afforded me the ability to move here, an event unbeknownst to me at the time that was a sort of homecoming. I was born and raised in New Jersey, but all I knew of Jersey City growing up was that if a great-grandparent was not born in Ireland or Germany, they were born at Margaret Hague. And now, having had ample time during lockdown to find new hobbies and research family ties to Jersey City, I've come to know more about my family through reading historical articles published in the Jersey Journal than I ever have through the words of my relatives. They are quiet people. I can no longer turn a corner in Jersey City without confronting family history, like the time 3 years ago to this very day when I was on Van Voorst waiting across Grand in front of the firehouse, a group of firefighters in their Class A uniforms gathering behind me. I thought to turn to ask them if they knew my mother's cousin, Tim, but I stopped myself, having inherited an aversion to talking. Only to discover later that night that 1st Battalion Company 2 was gathering for the memorial procession to Farrier statue in Lincoln Park to commemorate the passing of Deputy Chief Firefighter Tim Carney. My mom's cousin, she did not know well because her father and his brother Joe Carney, Jersey City Police Sergeant, did not speak much. When I asked why, my mother said she did not know. My suspicion is that they grew distant, having witnessed horrors too great to speak as veterans of World War II. It would have been so much more meaningful to converse with members of our fire department that day, to learn more about my grandfather's firefighting nephews, Joe, Jim, Tom, and Tim. Still, as the JC fates have it, I have ample opportunity to speak with them, given that I live at 70 Green, an equity residential property that Jersey City Fire Department visits on average 30 days a year, responding to catastrophic flooding events, failed elevators, and malfunctioning fire alert systems. Equity residential slogan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.17, Kevin.
Good evening, council members. It seems we find ourselves at a difficult crossroads yet again regarding the enforcement of rent control at Portside Towers. On October 19th, the Rent Leveling Board got it right. Their unanimous decision affirmed that Portside Towers has always been subject to rent control. However, the recent letter from the Bureau of Rent Leveling from Jonah Knoll, dated November 27th, significantly contradicts key aspects of the board's binding decision. It ignores the board mandated 6-year look-back period for rent rate recalculations from dates of our first petitions. It erroneously asserts, if not advocates, for equities qualifying for certain increases which are not allowable under the law. Essentially, the Bureau's guidance dismisses material components of the board's determination, despite it being the prevailing legal directive in this matter. This is deeply troubling on multiple levels. First, the board's ruling carries the weight of law. For the Bureau to now attempt to contravene critical enforcement mandates is a violation of due process and regulatory procedures. Second, this disregard for authoritative judicial directives that emerged from months of rigorous proceedings severely undermines public trust. And last, for wronged tenants awaiting rebates, such post-ruling misrepresentations cruelly deny them anticipated relief by elongating proceedings. Justice delayed is justice denied. So where do we go from here? We have continually demonstrated willingness to collaborate towards equitable solutions, evidenced by over a year of speeches here before you. Even while formal rent petitions remain stalled, but we will not settle for partial justice or backtracking of hard-won progress. The board's ruling remains judiciously sound and legally enforceable. The subsequent Bureau guidance must strictly adhere to the determinations. Mayor Fulop, you are still on the hook if the ordinance is not enforced. You are one difficult guy to try to help not get into legal trouble. Please direct all agencies to execute the existing ruling as mandated. Our legal team is hard at work on this matter. Fix this before it's too late. When I first met Mayor Fulop in person, I told him I would help him to become significantly more famous, but he would get to decide what he would become famous for based on what he would do or not do. A camera crew from a top 5 national news outlet will be on site in Jersey City before Christmas, so the world may know exactly what is going on. Now, we may all be famous for what we have done or not done. To the politicians who have my number, call me.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.18, Jessica.
Hello, Jessica Rasulo. It's good to be here. I was sad to miss the last few meetings, and it's good to see you all. Okay. I'd like to thank the Rent Leveling Board for their correct finding. I'd also like to acknowledge the diminished seating in the room this evening. The silencing of peaceful voices, regardless of whether I agree, is never okay and is anti-democratic. the tenants of Jersey City have been dealing with ongoing censorship from the administration. I understand the need for safety, but I hope to see the seats returned in the near future to encourage ongoing healthy social discourse. Speaking of censorship, it's amazing to acknowledge Mayor Fulop's continued failure to respond to the mistreatment of his constituents by large corporations. Here we are, again, away from our families, in Fulop's office, speaking in the loud echo of his absence and under the cloud of his apparent ongoing censorship. Our ask to you, Council, is to stay true to your word. We followed the administrative process. We got the right finding. Ensure that the laws of Jersey City are enforced and your constituents are protected. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.19, Gracie.
Good evening. My name is Gracie Jolly, and I'm a tenant residing at Portside Towers East. I was present at the October 19th Rent Leveling Board hearing when the commissioners voted unanimously that my building was never exempt from rent control. It was both 100% the right outcome and a significant relief for me and my neighbors. So why am I here? It's not to tell you that my building is now rent controlled. That's now obvious. I'm here because of something that's very wrong related to my rent control building is happening. My landlord, my professional landlord, is ignoring the outcome of the unanimous vote. Since the Rent Leveling Board's decision was disseminated earlier this month, my landlord is continuing to raise rents. We all know it has no right to do this. It is flaunting the non-enforcement of Chapter 260. My one important point tonight is to make sure you remain informed that my landlord is still acting as if my building has an exemption from rent control. My fellow neighbors in Portside East are continuing to receive new leases with rent increases upwards of 40%. Everyone in this room is smart enough to know this is wrong. Use your powers to correct this. Thank you for understanding and for also enforcing your law. I appreciate your time and look to you to protect your voters. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.20, Tim.
Hi, good evening, dear councilman, dear councilwoman. My name is Tim Zhao. I'm the resident of 155 Washington Street, Jersey City, aka Portside Towers, East Tower. I'm here with my beautiful neighbors. We are here together again. I want to thank you for all the hard work and thank everybody here for all the hard work for this 2023. Has been a long year. I myself also had a long day. I didn't have dinner. I have 3 kids at home that are waiting for me, but I decided to come right after work to here because I want to stand with my neighbors. Also fact, I was in the October 29th Rent Leveling Board hearing. We got a good news. We got a justice in terms of the determination. In fact, also, I was here last time too on the public speaking session. We're asking for help because we have not heard any formal, any type of constructive communications, any actions from Equity Residentials yet. No actions to correct the course. So here I am today again. I think nothing has been done yet. And in our life, in times when nothing has been done, it's okay. But here, every day, there are harm being done for not correcting the course. I think here you will see this crowd will grow bigger because every day there's harm being done if we do not enforce the laws if we do not enforce the determination. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.21, Mark.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Mark Boyles. You know, I always wear a stealth shirt, so you can't really see me. I live remarkably in Portside Towers. 2 weeks ago, I reminded this council that the City Ordinance 218-1 Section A requires Portside Towers to have uniform security patrols. I also asked how this ordinance should be enforced. No answers were forthcoming from this council. I asked the Department of Public Safety of Jersey City this question, and the department wrote back and said that the Jersey City Police Department is responsible for enforcing all Jersey City ordinances. I asked this council whether this is the correct approach. If so, is there a particular person or group to contact in the JCPD, or should I call 911 and ask for help? In the same vein, City Ordinance 07-153, Section 7, Clause E, requires Portside Towers to close and chain the vehicle access lane to the southernmost portion of Washington Street every night from 8 p.m. through 8 a.m. the next morning. Yet this has not been done in the 3 years I have lived at Portside. It's important to protect our neighborhood. Many of us have witnessed what could be drug transactions with cars parked in opposite directions at the secluded end of Washington Street and the drivers conversing. How is this required chaining of the southern end of Washington Street, mandated by City Ordinance 07-153, Section 7E, enforced? By the Jersey City Police Department? If so, is there a contact, or should I dial 911 to get the street chained every night? And finally, the same ordinance, 07153, Section 7, clauses A and B specify the parking allowed in this area. Since this is a, quote, public park, unquote, but is owned by Portside Towers, does the Jersey City Parking Authority have jurisdiction, or is this the responsibility of Portside Towers? If the latter, how can we gain compliance with the ordinance? Involve the JCPD again via the 911 service? Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.22, Sylvia.
Dear council members, my name is Sylvia Meyer. I have been here before and discussed our issues with our landlord, Equity, many times. Tonight won't be different. In spite of the decision made by the Rent Leveling Board end of October, we have yet to see any reduction in our rent. Our landlord has remained mostly silent about this event. Rent renewal proposals have been sent with illegal increases, again, and our monthly rents remain at least $1,000 above legal rates. In addition, we are still suffering from mediocre maintenance services, and the building is in a state that has been described by many as worrisome. Mold is being painted off, not removed. Water infiltrations disregarded. Basic fix requests ignored for months or judged irrelevant. Many of my neighbors have paid with their own money to fix buildings and apartment issues, including filthy carpets, repainting walls, buying space heaters because the wall units do not function properly, etc. I recently paid $800 for an external auditor to check the state of my apartment and order mandatory improvements to be done. Without these investments, all my concerns would have been, again, dismissed. Equity is not a landlord I would recommend to anyone. They disregard the law, modify official paperwork, include clauses in their contracts that are plain illegal, dismiss any health and safety concerns we have constantly tried to bring up to their attention, and so on. They lie. They cannot be trusted. So we hope that you will join us in our fight for justice, in our fight for our basic right to have fair and healthy housing. And by doing so, that we will encourage others to step up and fight their own slumlords. Because no matter where you live, greed and immorality can take many appearances. Oftentimes, they even dress in suits. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.23, Judith.
Judith Fury Rogers, 100 Montgomery, apartment 3A, senior citizen, white lady. 100 Montgomery's property management is SHP Management Corp. Urban Renewal Limited, AKA the Montgomery, AKA PH Residential. The property management and the Montgomery are owned by the same family in Maine. They also own 7 other affordable New Jersey housing units listed on the property management's website. The property management brag about 7,000 units of affordable housing and that they are recognized leaders in the affordable housing, multi-family housing industry. This 100 Montgomery property management list the Montgomery on their website as affordable housing. They offer new tenants parking. They offer new tenants refurbished units with new appliances. Why does this matter? Why did I tell you I was white? The Montgomery is not listed with the Jersey City Division of Affordable Housing. Why? This building must be funded by the federal government if they offer affordable units. They are discriminating against African Americans and Hispanics. I am part of this group. Parking is not available for us, and old units are ignored and maintained. To qualify for the Montgomery, it's a secret. Restrictions may apply. They are discussed during your physical site visit. How to apply? Visit the Montgomery office. Why? This is a disgrace. This owner and management company is using federal funding to rebuild apartments, discriminating against minorities. They hire inspectors to work on their payroll. There are about 30 new units available. Apply. If they are not advertised and rented to working African American and Hispanic residents, not out of town people, I will file a discrimination lawsuit against Jersey City and the Montgomery.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.24, Ashley. She's not here, thank you. Next speaker, 5.25, Suzanne.
Good evening, Council. Last night, I discovered someone stole our doormat that read Happy Christmas. It lasted 3 days outside our door. I found it very sad that someone would not only steal, but something that read Happy Christmas, a time for gratitude, love, and giving to others for many. I realized that I should not be surprised because, sadly, there are a lot of people in this world who will take what is theirs for their own benefit. This is exactly what the city and Equity have done and continue to do to us. As you are aware, we have yet to see action on behalf of Equity in terms of rent adjustments, new leases, and repayments since our October 19th win. What I have seen is still the relentless support of the landlord by the city and delaying their action to enforce rent control, even though the determination very clearly stated the city's acknowledgement that the tenant won, and in the end, more stealing and the enactment of wrongdoing continues to occur by the city. Additionally, illegal rent increases are still being offered to existing and new tenants. What does the city stand for? Have you decided to investigate any of the city's willful wrongdoing? I was here with all these people last Christmas. The city chose not to enforce its own Ordinance 260, and now that we have won on paper, there are still shady actions being taken by the city to delay justice. Furthermore, our questioning and concerns over our RUBS bills and con service are growing. Many of us saw our November bill triple versus our previous months. I have to pay $63 just for sewer, with a total for sewer, water, and trash of $163. We suspect that we are paying for all repairs made by equity on the building that have affected our water, sewer, and trash consumption. To what end is there that equity in any big landlord stops abusing its tenants and willfully stealing from them? And to what end does the city decide to support its tenants? For all we will discover, landlords are in bed with con service and the water system operating franchise. I would like to know from the lawyers present if there is any ceiling in a rent control building for water, trash, and sewer charges. I would also appreciate an update on when the city will enforce the October 19th determination. Rent control is retroactively in effect since each building was constructed. When will the city demand our landlord turn over our leases, which is standard after a board determination? It's standard in Hoboken, it's standard in Woodbridge, and yet it's willfully neglected again in Jersey City. For 25 years, our landlord acted as if they had an exemption, and they do not and never have and never will. When will the city act according to the board determinations? If there's any update that can be provided, I have 16 seconds. Thanks for doing your job.
Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.26, Carol.
Good evening. I'm Carol Cho. I'm a resident of Portside Towers. I'm back again, and I'd like to discuss the ongoing challenges we're encountering despite our recent legal victory. Unfortunately, our landlords at Equity are still not complying with the law. The board ruling in our favor should have resulted in a reduction in rent, aligning with the rules of rent control. However, we find ourselves still grappling with non-compliance, exemplified by a new lease I received that fails to reflect the reduced rate, and instead it carries an increase above the stipulations of rent control. We were instructed to finish the administrative process, and we did. We got the board's ruling. But when will the city enforce the board determinations? This situation highlights to me a broader issue, the imperative for vigilant oversight and accountability to ensure that the victories we secure on paper translate into reality. This is about more than just rent control. It's about us wanting a stable home. A stable home is more than just a physical space. It's the heartbeat of our community. It's where we find solace after a long day, build memories with loved ones, and experience peace and security. But what happens when that stability is threatened? When people of all ages face constant uncertainty about their living situation? This is a reality confronting many in our community, and it profoundly impacts the emotional and mental well-being of all people, especially that of our children. Having a stable home goes beyond four walls and a roof. It's about the security it provides, the foundation for our families, and the peace of mind it offers. It's not merely a place to sleep, but a space to grow, dream, and feel safe. Studies consistently demonstrate the link between stable housing and positive mental health outcomes across all age groups, whether it's a young adult building a career, a retiree seeking tranquility, or a young family raising children, which research shows that frequent moves during childhood may have long-term consequences influencing mental health outcomes in adulthood. It should be not surprising that a stable home is the foundation for emotional well-being. Let's broaden our perspective and recognize that prioritizing rent control and stable housing is an investment in the mental health of our entire community and people of all ages. Each of us deserve a space where we feel secure, supported, and connected. We have the ability to create a community where stability isn't a luxury, but a shared value. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.27, John. John's not here. How about Mel? Okay.
Hi there. So it's the end of the year when many people look back on the highlights and lowlights of the last year as some reflections. Some of the speakers coming after me are going to use this same theme, I think. So Highlights. Number one, the hearing on October 19th, the Rent Levelling Board unanimously ruling in our favour of the Portside tenants. We're beyond grateful for them and can't thank them enough. Fantastic. Number two, no, sorry, that's the end of the highlights. So to the lowlights, we had one win. That's great, fantastic. Everything else that we brought before this council this year, no progress. Pretty much, it's not your job. You can't do anything about it. Even the Rent Levelling Board piece, when we first came here with illegal rent increases, we were told to go through the judicial system with no, real support. We did that. The group behind me in particular worked their butts off to get everything together, the legal team, all the rest of it. We got a successful outcome. But we do need your help. We still need you to look into other things that haven't happened, the state of our buildings, the costs we're paying for everything else that comes under equity's responsibilities, where they can just charge us whatever they want, whenever they want, and it's just never ending. We now have this ruling and they're able to ignore it. No one is telling them to change our rent, our current leases, or even the refunds that we're supposed to be getting. Nothing, they just carry on as usual as if these rules don't exist and the ruling never happened. So we need your intervention, we need your investigation. You told us that you can investigate when something is not going as it's supposed to be. Well, this is not happening. Similarly, with the director of the, I forget his title, Pastor Richardson, he still hasn't done a single thing since he entered office, as far as we can tell. We've had no response from him in nearly a year now. We're kind of past that. It may be irrelevant, but he's still in a job. He's still supposed to be doing something, I suppose. So yeah, so we really want you to really come and help us out here. As we've said many, many times, 72% of your constituents are renters. We vote. We know there's a mayoral election coming up. We'd love to see where you stand, and we'd like to see you supporting us and helping us so that next year, one, we maybe don't have to come here quite so often, but we have some more highlights. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.29, Sonia.
Good evening, council members. I'm Sonja Kirschner. Indeed, it was for me the highlight of the year when in fall the Rent Levelling Board of Jersey City unanimously determined and confirmed in writing that, I quote, both buildings and all units therein are and have been for the duration of their occupancy subject to rent control. Finally, we had some positive feelings like joy, a sense of accomplishment. We just had won justice for not only us Portsiders, but the city of Jersey City, maybe even our state, New Jersey, maybe even the US. And trust. Trust that truth wins, that laws are worth more than the paper they are written on. And yes, trust in the city administration and its execution of democratic principles. A smart person, I don't know who exactly once said, it takes years to build trust, only seconds to destroy it, and forever to repair it. And I'm honestly wondering which phase we are in right now. Before I attempt an answer, council members, I'd like to ask you how you feel in this whole process. I want to ask you what you have learned about trust. I would like to know whom you trust. A mayor who is running for governor of one of the most prosperous states in this country, but to this date censors unwelcome comments on his constituents on social media. The multi-billion firm who some of you sat at the table with at the Jersey City Summit for Real Estate Investment in May 2023, but who now sues the city because they had relied on the rent control exemption, which was, by the way, still not produced to this date. And the fact that the city directly benefited from the exempt rents that Portside's charged, quoted from the lawsuit. It looks like not only our trust was destroyed, but also the long-built trust between equity and the city. But back to the outstanding answers. I'd say we are in phase 3, sadly. In October, the city administration ensured us that both of our towers have always been rent controlled and that we have to get new leases. They are not here. Trust was destroyed, and now hopefully you take the chance to rebuild it. It is in your hands still. And secondly, to whom you trust. I would not dare to speak in your name, but I'm telling you once again that you can trust us. We will not go anywhere. We will fight for justice for all in Jersey City, and we will take this to any instant that is needed to get our rights executed. This is how quickly a highlight can turn into a low light. It's sad.
Our next speaker, 5.30, Danilo.
Good evening. I can only second what my fellow speakers said about this year. Some true highlights and sadly many lowlights when it comes to rent control. One obvious highlight, the RLB determination from October 19th. The board came to the only possible conclusion that 100 Warren and 155 Washington have always been subject to rent control. The other big highlight for me is the community we formed. Sonia talked about trust. These are the people I can trust. Isn't that a great feeling? I can only hope that you, within the city government, can have such a feeling of trust too. Especially in recent weeks after the RLB decision, some might have thought our group will quickly dissolve. But the opposite is the case. We see it through and are getting stronger and stronger by the day. And the reason for getting stronger and having to continue leads directly to the lowlights of the year. The RLB has altered the decision from 1019 in favor of our multi-billion landlord twice. The Bureau did not follow through with the determination that was done. In terms of rollback, when the Woodbridge board determined something similar, they immediately demanded 19 years of lease rollback. Jersey City wants to look back only 6. How does that make sense when the decision is that the buildings were always under rent control? The due date for equity to provide new leases with legal rents was December 6. To this day, we didn't get any adjusted leases. Why hasn't Jersey City demanded any leases or rent rolls almost 2 months after the ruling? Equity continues to issue brand new leases as well as renewals with illegal rents. People are continuing to be harmed. What about the renters who try to stay but struggle financially? They are desperately waiting for the correct rental rates. And if we know one thing by now, we can be sure equity will not do that without force. The administrative process is finished. We have the board ruling. What is holding you back now? When will the city demand new leases? When will the city enforce the board's determination? And once more, where is our mayor? He claims that fair and affordable housing is on the top of his agenda if he becomes NJ governor. How will that work if he cannot take care of that in this city? And last but not least, he is still censoring social media. When will you do something about that?
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.31, Erin.
Good evening, council members. My name is Erin Kent. Tonight is quieter and calmer than expected, but I'm going to start off by reading something called the Audre Lorde Questionnaire to Oneself, created by writer Divya Victor. I think it's still appropriate for tonight, as people in this room recently have been contemplating injustices, both large and small, global and local, grossly and corruptly systemic, and supposedly isolated and accidental. The questionnaire. Number 1, what are the words you do not have yet, or for what do you not have words yet? Number 2, what do you need to say? List as many things as necessary. Number 3, what are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you will sicken and die of them still in silence? List as many as necessary today, then write a new list tomorrow and the day after. Number 4, if we have been socialized to respect fear more than our own needs for language and definition, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen to me if I tell this truth? So answer this today and every day. And lucky you, I'm going to take you through this exercise. Number 1, for what do you not have words yet? Actually, the words do exist. Non-compliance, non-enforcement, consumer fraud, injustice, corruption. Number 2, what do you need to say? List as many things as necessary. 20 or so people tonight, 12 plus months so far, 300 plus city hall speeches to date, 2,500 hours of volunteer labor. Number 3, what are the tyrannies you swallow day by day? That these numbers, which also include 1 historic rent leveling board hearing win, and 1 is all we need, determining that both towers are and always have been subject to rent control, that these numbers are truth, they are fact, and yet Equity Residential continues to blatantly disregard them. That Jersey City hasn't demanded any leases or rent rolls almost 2 months after this ruling, that we still are receiving renewal offers far above rent control limits, that we still haven't received new leases or refunds for overpayment, that our landlord, to add insult to injury, fails to deliver and maintain basic services, putting our well-being and safety at risk. Number 4, what's the worst that could happen to me if I tell this truth? Is it being ignored? It hasn't worked yet. Is it being threatened? We aren't going away. Is it being told we are insignificant? Yes, Equity is huge and we are small and seemingly inconsequential in comparison. But as a whole, we are larger than the sum of our parts. We have immense power when unified for a just cause. And so I ask this, if equity is so big, why do regular inconsequential people such as ourselves continue to have to suffer in the name of their incompetence? For being so small and inconsequential, we seem to be pretty essential, paying literally in the millions for the price of their mistakes. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.32, Joel. Not here. Next, 5.33, Shannon.
Good evening. I have a new name on the roster. I'm usually Shannon Chang, but after 3.5 tough years, my divorce is final. I am not afraid to fight. Thank you. It was a tough fight and it wasn't completely fair, but I'm done and I am Shannon Ray. Thank you. I came to speak with you after a 12-hour shift at my busy hospital. Why do I do this when I have to be there tomorrow at 7 a.m. for another 12-hour shift? It's because we still don't have justice at Portside. As evidenced by my 3.5-year fight, justice and accountability matter to me a lot. And I'm grateful for what this community has achieved over the past 1.5 years. We have rent control in both towers. What a win, but is it really? As you know, the Rent Leveling Board, as we've all been repeating, unanimously determined both buildings and all units therein are and have been for the duration of their occupancy subject to rent control. Later in the written determination, the board concludes that rent needs to be adjusted. As far as I know, Equity has 30 days from the receipt of the written determination to do so. Those 30 days were up on December 6th, 1 week ago. Everyone who I spoke with or checked in with got their gentle reminders about our balances due for December rent on or about November 27th. None of those reminders had any hint of the reality of the Rent Leveling Board determination. All rent balances reflected the old illegally bloated rent rates. We got those reminders in a timely manner, no problem there. We haven't received our adjustment rent rates or any repayment, so I'm asking again, have we really achieved rent control at Portside? We can tell you the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and we're not eating any pudding or cake just yet. Instead, Equity continues to conduct themselves egregiously, still leveling 40% increases in rent renewals. Instead, we come here week after week to represent over 500 Portside units and their tenants and the 72% of Jersey City residents who are renters in our beautiful city. We implore you to help us. We know that you, the city council members, have a huge interest in the execution of the city's laws and the rulings of your most important administrative bodies. If equity doesn't comply in a timely manner, it sets an example that the city's laws and rulings don't matter. They're not worth the paper they're printed on. This can't be in your interest. I let an apartment go. I looked for a place and I let it go. It was significantly less rent. We got our ruling and I decided to stay, and I don't want to regret that. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.34, Michelle.
Good evening. During the October 12th City Council meeting, Resolution 23-753 was approved, ratifying the award of a professional services agreement with the law firm Cleary, Giocob, Alfieri, and Jacobs LLC. We understand this agreement aimed to provide advice and counsel on personnel and internal best practices, was related exclusively to our rent control situation and in reaction to our calls for investigations mandated by the Faulkner Act. It came at a cost of $35,000 to the taxpayers. Taxpayer cost means taxpayer accountability. Notably, President Waterman and Corporation Counsel Brittany Murray, on the record, emphasized that outside independent counsel would scrutinize the processes and policies purportedly followed by the city throughout our illegal rent petition administrative process. What were the results of that taxpayer-funded effort? Portsiders committed that legal action against the city would be avoided if the city adhered to the laws regarding our cases. However, recent developments indicate a persistent disregard for the law. Also on October 12th, President Waterman indicated that if the city didn't act lawfully, we should come back here and she would initiate an investigation. She essentially conveyed the city better get it right or else. President Waterman, the city hasn't gotten it right ever since our board hearing on October 19th. Not only is the city not getting it right, but it also got it wrong in writing in a November 27th letter sent to our significantly expanded legal team. This warrants an investigation immediately. The letter, purportedly authored by and certainly signed by Jonah Noel, the hearing and landlord-tenant officer, expressly ignored the findings of the board and the ordinance. Despite our concerns being voiced during each meeting, our cases, regrettably for you, continue to be mishandled once again in favor of our grossly non-compliant landlord. If the city would simply follow the board ruling and the ordinance, we could focus all our energy and legal resources on our landlord. However, since the city opted to document in writing a blatant disregard for the legally binding determination and the ordinance, we must take you up on your offer to investigate immediately. If someone approved Jonah's letter, that too should be investigated. If there's no investigation, our efforts will turn to the Faulkner Act violations of the council and the mayor. Madam President, please initiate the investigation so our legal efforts can focus on the bad actors and not on a council that enables those bad actors through inaction. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.35, Richard.
Honorable councilpersons, ordinance 23105 on Wayne Street converting into a two-way is defeated by Councilman Solomon, and we thank all the council people for defeating. We really appreciate that. The division that oversees Wayne Street between Marin Boulevard and Grove Street is the Department of Infrastructure. And what I researched is that the director is, I believe I'm saying the name right, Bhaskara Patel. And the project is stated that Wayne Street is between Marin and Grove. It is part of this project, the Grove Street Public Realm Plan. It's located from First Street to York Street on Grove Street. The study began in March 2023. The plan published in September of 2023, and it's being funded and operated budget on-call services. The scope of this work is the city is conducting to develop a long-term vision for Grove Street corridor. What was done with this plan, it gave open house flyers in April of 23. It had an open house workshop flyer on 11/2/23. It did survey final planning and feedback. It had a final Grove Street Plaza vision plan, and it gave back an 84% approval plan of it as it is. I have a copy of it, which is on their website. And when I looked at it, there was no changes to Wayne Street. So they spent all this money on a plan for a corridor, and they didn't change Wayne Street at all from Grove Street to Marin Boulevard. So we're not looking for anything additional. If the Department of the Traffic Engineering works for the Department of Infrastructure, then all these plans should have been made and these impact plans and surveys should have been done. So I don't understand why we're still waiting for something that is already done. If you go on their website, you'll be able to see it, and it shows you the flow of traffic, one ways and the bike lanes. So I don't think we need to look for anything. I think we kind of leave it alone and everybody's happy. What's happening with the garage, I think that's a separate issue. Not to change it. This is going to affect something that the city spent a lot of money on. And I think the council should look at it before they interfere what they've done. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.36, Mo.
Okay, I'm going to start off by saying that my continuing to have to come here so regularly to ask for something as simple as to stop the killing and to stop the funding of a genocide takes time away from my family, and it takes time away from me being able to play with my son before his bedtime. But why do I keep coming here? Because each day that passes without a ceasefire, there are 100 Palestinian children per day that never get to play or have a bedtime with their mothers and fathers ever again. So we all know how the vote went last week. I want to thank Councilman Saleh, Gilmore, and Baggiano for your courage and humanity. As for the others, let's call a spade here. You were all quick to immediately condemn the October 7th attack with their revised death toll numbers, false claims of 40 beheaded babies, and various other outrageous debunked propaganda-filled claims. And I'm not even calling you out on the condemnation. We Palestinians can look you in the eye and condemn the killing of innocent people without hesitation. The difference here is that people that are chanting against a ceasefire right now would never be able to do the same. Because at this point in time, if you are anti-ceasefire, then you are pro-genocide and you do not value Palestinian lives as much as you do Israelis or even Ukrainians for that matter. If you're chanting for no ceasefire, then you view all Palestinians as terrorists, that when killed at any age, they are deemed as casualties that you can accept, point blank, period. And let me be direct here. If this situation were reversed with more than 23,000 Israelis killed, half of which are children, your votes would be loud and unanimous for a ceasefire. And you'd be lying through your teeth if you said otherwise. And I'll say it bluntly, your abstention at this point in time with the death tolls that you have witnessed and with practically every country on earth calling for a ceasefire is the same thing as voting no, just as our corrupt U.S. government did. In fact, in my direct opinion, it's actually worse because it shows that after literally witnessing a genocide on live stream, you do not value Palestinian lives the same as others and lack the moral courage to go against the status quo and vested interests by turning a blind eye to it. The irony is that every single one of our open eyes is fully focused on your blind eyes. And in what world do you think this is a war when two of the most powerful military superpowers and the most advanced weaponry, Israel and U.S., fighting against a small subsection of an occupied territory that is deemed an open-air concentration camp without a military, where resistance fighters in sandals are firing cheap rockets in which 99.5% are intercepted by the Iron Dome, one of the most advanced defense systems on Earth? When Palestinian death toll numbers are increasing daily by the thousands versus Israel having no updates on any civilian death toll numbers since October 7th, aside from them actually revising their number down. Does that sound like a war to you? Our friends and family are dying each day. We're over here thousands of miles away feeling like we're drowning and helpless. So I'll ask you this one last question. If you weren't paying attention and I saw one of your children drowning in a pool with their hands reaching out for help, would you want me to grab their hands and stop them from drowning or abstain and walk away? I believe in second chances. Bring the resolution back and do the right thing. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.37, Matt.
Hi, good evening, council members. I'm here to speak about ordinance 23-105. I just want to reinforce my views about converting Wayne Street to two-way street between Grove and Marin. I'm a proud homeowner of a house on Wayne Street since 2015. I have two young children that regularly play outside my house. During the 8 years I've lived in Jersey City, I really appreciate the actions the council has taken to make streets safer for pedestrians and to reduce the speed of traffic around downtown. I believe this ordinance is wholly inconsistent with that goal to calm traffic around downtown streets, and it's undoing all the progress that the city has made over the years. I have 5 primary concerns. Number 1, after this change, cars will be using Wayne Street to cut through to Holland Tunnel. I remember 7 years ago when the Pulaski Skyway was closed, cars would regularly make the left turn from Columbus onto Marin, and I never saw a single car get pulled over after making that turn. Number 2, Grove Street has a tremendous amount of pedestrian traffic crossing Wayne Street going to the pass station. This would make that crossing significantly more dangerous. Number 3, Wayne and Marin meets at a very strange obtuse angle, and it makes turning right onto Marin from Wayne extremely dangerous because of the obstructed view from the bollards that 95 Columbus has placed on the sidewalk and from the cars that are parked on Marin. I personally actually made this turn a few times when Wayne Street was closed, either due to a parade or because of sewer work, and I can tell you that turn is very iffy. And number 4, living on the street, I'm naturally concerned about the removal of 8 parking spaces. It's hard enough to find parking space as it is because the city doesn't enforce resident permit parking rules at all. In fact, almost a dozen employees of 95 Columbus regularly park on Wayne Street every day with 0 consequences. And additionally, when I mentioned the difficulty in making the right turn from Wayne to Marin, Crystal mentioned that the city would look into removing even more parking spots onto Marin. And finally, Wayne Street also acts as the loading dock for 95 Columbus. You will regularly see trucks double parked on the street waiting to unload. And so if you made the street 2-lane, cars will regularly have to cross onto oncoming traffic in order to pass those trucks. And finally, I would actually like to offer a solution that doesn't eliminate any parking. And I think that is to make Grove Street northbound 2 lanes, 1 lane for left turn vehicles and 1 lane for right turn vehicles. I came to this conclusion because I spent a lot of time standing at that intersection, and I saw that only 4 or 5 cars would be able to go through on each green light cycle. And the reason for that is because the right turning cars would often block the left turning cars because it's waiting for pedestrians and vice versa. So having 2 lanes would allow the left turn and the right turn cars to not conflict with each other. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.38, Colin.
Good evening, Council. I am here to support the resolution for a protected path on the 14th Street Viaduct. And thank you for moving to introduce the ordinance to fine drivers obstructing a bike lane. The ordinance is about accountability and respect. I'm on a bike just about every day in this city on my way to work or to go to the store. I do it all year, rain or snow. It reduces my carbon footprint. It forces me to move my body, get in some exercise. Biking gets me and a lot of other people around efficiently. We deserve safety and respect. On November 4th, Guillermo Acevedo was biking from his day job in Hoboken to his second job on Newark Avenue in Jersey City. At 3:50 in the afternoon, he was struck and killed by a driver making a left turn at Marin and 16th Street. He leaves behind a wife and 3 boys, the oldest just 16. Guillermo died simply trying to get from one job to another, just trying to provide for his family. Along that particular stretch, Adjacent to a shopping plaza, there is no bike lane, no curb extensions, no daylighting, no flashing beacons, no devices of any kind to get cars to slow down. Building safe streets is urgent. I watched the caucus meeting discussion on Monday night, and I couldn't believe any of you would say road diets for safety are causing problems. Problems for who, exactly? Just a few weeks ago, we held vigil with Teresa Acevedo and the boys who just lost their dad. It's Christmas time. Think about them and their problems. Your constituents need you all to be champions of safe streets. Not just reactive, proactive. Continue to work on improving city streets, but also help us to advocate at the county and state levels to save our neighbors from dying. Stand on any corner. Watch drivers on their phones, running lights, driving recklessly with 3,000-pound weapons. The conditions that exist are because of an utter lack of accountability and a lack of respect. Each of you has the capacity for change. The ordinance you have moved forward is a start, but I truly hope it's not the end. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.39, Mark.
Council, I come to urge you to support Resolution 2312 or a PBL on the viaduct in 14th Street. This is a vital piece of cycling infrastructure that connects three communities. You've got Union City, you've got Jersey City Heights, and Hoboken. There are real safety considerations on this road. Presently, someone coming down on a bike or some other micro transport, could be a scooter, is forced to do a choice of either coming down on the road, which is dangerous, or coming down on the sidewalk, which presents a hazard to pedestrians. And with the advent of City Bike and its uptake in Hoboken and Jersey City, people use City Bike to connect from the Heights to locations in Hoboken and vice versa. So this has become an important pathway for those people that are using cycling as a means of transport. In Hudson County, we have this kind of odd dance between the cities, the municipalities, and the county. It seems like the county owns roads that run through cities and has jurisdictions over them, and the cities do not have agency to do anything about those roads or manage those roads that are county roads. This road is one of those roads, and I have the feeling that the county will not do anything or take any action on this unless the municipalities that are connected to it urge it to do so. Hoboken has already adopted a resolution in favor of this PBL. I urge Jersey City to adopt a similar resolution so that the people that are the growing audience of people who are using cycling infrastructure can have a protected route to and from the waterfront, from the Heights, from Union City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.40, Musab. I don't see him. Next, 5.41, Justin.
Good evening. My name is Justin Rivera. I'm a proud resident of Ward D, Jersey City Heights. Representatives of the council, I stand before you disappointed and deeply concerned for the conscience of its collective body. On December 6, 2023, Al Jazeera reported nearly 17,000 dead civilians in the Gaza Strip of occupied Palestine as a result of mass bombardment, displacement, and targeted military violence imposed by the Israeli Defense Forces and its government since the 7th of October. 7,000 of those killed were children. Today, those figures are upwards of 19,000 killed, 8,000 children included, and over 2 million displaced. That evening, Jersey City convened for a special meeting to vote on Resolution 23903. I extend my respect for Councilman Yosef Saleh of Ward D, the project manager behind this proposed solution, as he responded to the demands and outcries of Jersey City residents. 5 members of this council abstained from voting, defeating the inclusive resolution. Councilman Bogiano and, of course, Councilman Saleh, the people of Jersey City salute you for your vote in favor. The violence against Palestine is not unfamiliar. Jersey City, founded on occupied Lenape-Hoking, is a multi-ethnic, incredibly diverse, multinational city with residents that also recognize displacement, corruption of governance, and state violence against them. We, at the Golden Door of America, are hurting for the people of Palestine. In spite of that heaviness, we remain a community that embraces the diversity that shapes it and our belief in equality, mutual aid, and a home to all. Jersey people show up and we take care of each other. With the abstention in last week's vote, I'm concerned this council has misrepresented the interest and humanity of its constituents. Yesterday, the United Nations General Assembly held an emergency session in which they passed a ceasefire resolution with 153 nations voting in favor. We have joined the ranks of nations that voted in support of state violence instead and continued genocide. Abstention is inaction, inaction is permission to violence. Rather than toil with frustration, I must plead with the council to reconsider and think on how we can reconcile the choice of inaction. At a time where our activism must be relentless, where we must show our alliance with justice, we must find a way to respond for the martyrs and steadfast survivors of genocide. Our action also speaks to the Jewish citizens of occupied Palestine and around the world who vehemently reject the conduct and broken moral compass of the Israeli government. As we approach an end to the year of the municipality, I implore you to dive deeper into what is happening in Gaza and the West Bank. See what we are all seeing and join us at a protest. Talk to us on a more personal level. Palestinians are suffering and we have a chance to act. I hope we can move forward as a council who can still reconsider doing the right thing when it truly counted.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.42, Tony.
Hi, Tony Borelli from Bike JC. Why should you, on second reading next month, start treating bike lane parking as a more serious offense than some other parking violations? There are two good reasons based in the fundamentals of law. One is the intention of people doing that, and the other is the effects of doing that. If one of you forgets to move a car for street sweeping, you can do that by an honest mistake. You can oversleep. You can forget what day of the week it is or read a sign wrong. If you do it, the street will stay a little dirtier for a few more days. It's not ideal, but frankly, a slap on the wrist is about all that's appropriate there. If, on the other hand, you see a bright green strip of street with bike stencils, excuse me, all over it, and barriers in front of it specifically designed to keep cars out, and you should maneuver your giant SUV carefully around those barriers and stick it into that green space and leave it there. That's not something you do by accident. So there really isn't a call for leniency when somebody deliberately does that, any more than if I took a big cargo bike and dumped it in the middle of JFK Boulevard and locked it up. I don't think people would treat that charitably. The effects of it, as one of my colleagues will elaborate on shortly, can also be very, very deadly. People literally die because of this. Cyclists are forced to do one of two things. They can go left into the street and merge into car traffic, often in the middle of the block where drivers are not expecting to see us. And people can and do die while doing that quite regularly. If they take a safer course, they're ending up lugging their bikes up a curb, through some mailboxes, across some grass, maybe some dog poop, down the sidewalk. They're doing the reverse of that on the other side of this land yacht, while the kids are in the child seats crying. If that happens once, okay, but when that happens regularly, when people are trying to go to school, to pick up their kids, to go to work, they gradually stop wanting to use the bike lanes, which defeats the whole purpose of the bike lane network that you created. It robs us of safety, and it robs the whole enterprise of the utility that it was intended to have. So for all those reasons, I strongly urge you to give this more than a slap on the wrist next month. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.43, Suzanne.
Good evening. I know that I've been here before. I'm sure you remember that I live in historic downtown Jersey City. And it is a wonderful place to live. It is, in fact, our home is considered by the Historic Preservation Commission to be a building that may not be changed. So it's beautiful, as long as we keep it up. But my point was really to be here with Rich, talking about the ordinance that you defeated. So I am hopeful that because you listened to him, that you will not do to his street what happened to ours. I wish that I had been knowledgeable enough to have been here early so that I could maybe have prevented it from having that happen on Christopher. We do have 2 bike lanes, much to the satisfaction of our bikers, one in each direction. But we do not have enough parking, and it still has not been restored. And my whole purpose here tonight, other than to be supportive of Rich, in case we needed to be, but apparently not yet, is that you would still keep me on your radar and allow me to be a part of the future decisions that are made about parking, because there's a lot that could be restored to us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.44, Anne Marie.
Good evening, council and community members. And I want to thank you for persisting in working toward getting Jersey City a gold standard program of 911 response in behavioral health and mental health situations. So thank you for that. I also thank you that there will be a meeting this coming week and community will be invited. My hope is that it will be more than one community representative at the meeting on Tuesday afternoon here in City Hall. I want to go over quickly just 8 points that we want to see included in this gold standard program. And these have already been shared with Isaac and the 3 counselors assigned to this new program. Explicit cooperation from the Jersey City Police Department and Health and Human Services with clear memoranda of understanding expressing just how this cooperation should look. Crisis intervention teams, which include a police officer, mental health professional, and possibly EMT, and all of these to be co-trained together in how to do crisis intervention. Training of 911 operators and responders so they can accurately direct mental health calls. The creation of a follow-up long-term care program for our mentally challenged community members. The program should start with the training as the lead element to begin with, and it should start 45 days after the award. That training should start then. Integration with 988 services, input from community representatives at every stage of developing this new gold standard program. That means from creating the RFP through implementation, and especially have ongoing community representation when you're looking at program results all along the way that the program exists. 24/7 services and ensuring, and this is important also, ensuring outreach to and inclusion of family and faith community members who have a connection to the mentally challenged individual in all the de-escalation processes. Thank you so much again, and have a good evening and good holidays for anyone we won't see at the meeting on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, 5.45, Alaya.
Hi, my name is Ayla Shermer. I'm the president of Bike JC and board member of Hudson County Complete Streets. These organizations work on behalf of thousands of residents to make our municipal and county streets safe for all travel modes. I'm here to speak about 3 different street safety issues. First, I want to voice my and Bike JC's full support for item 3.1, which establishes a fine for driving or parking in a bike lane. Anyone like me who regularly travels by bicycle will tell you it is nearly impossible to complete a bike ride around Jersey City without encountering multiple hazards blocking these bike lanes. We currently dedicate only a tiny sliver of Jersey City streets to cycling and other micromobility modes, so it's imperative that that space is not compromised. Cars parked in bike lanes, even if it's just for a minute, are huge safety hazards that force cyclists into traffic in places where drivers aren't expecting us. Parking in a bike lane happens because someone chooses their own convenience over the safety of others, and that simply is not defensible. While ultimately we want bike lanes to be physically separated from cars as much as possible, some responsive enforcement is necessary to deter drivers who still find a way to block them. As a reminder, this council all unanimously supported the city's Vision Zero action plan. A fine for parking in a bike lane is another tool to work towards our Vision Zero goals and keep people safe. Next, I want to voice full support for item 10.9, and thank you, Councilman Saleh, for your support. A resolution supporting a multi-use protected path on the 14th Street Viaduct, which is a county road. The viaduct is a straight shot that includes up to 5 lanes of high-speed car traffic. Though the speed limit is only 20 miles per hour, you would truly never know it, with cars often pushing 50. It's unacceptable that cyclists do not have a safe and protected way to travel on this main corridor connecting Jersey City, Hoboken, and Union City. All 3 mayors support this, and with an affirmative vote tonight, all 3 councils will as well. This will send a strong message to Hudson County that change is long overdue on this dangerous high-injury road. Finally, though it got removed from tonight's agenda, I want to oppose the proposal to turn Wayne Street 2-way between Marin and Grove. I've lived at the corner of Wayne and Grove Streets for over a decade. It's a quiet and safe block due in large part to the fact that it is one-way. Opening this block up to 2-way traffic strictly to cater to a private parking garage is a huge mistake. It will make the scary and dangerous pedestrian crossing at Marin and Wayne infinitely worse, and it will create much more opportunity for bike conflict because cars traveling east on Wayne will now be able to speed through the Grove Street intersection and the protected bike lane there. I have other reasons why I oppose this, but I think I'm out of time, so I just wanted to say thanks for giving this more thought and involving the community moving forward. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.46, Rochelle.
Hello? Okay. In this moment in time, humanity is in crisis, and the international law that has been corrupted and failed Our national law has also failed as it's forced ideas that run against the First Amendment, which conflates criticism of government with racism. Our local government is complacent. I want to point out the beginning of democracy came from Native Americans who represented the idea as a bundle of sticks. Each unit was a stick, all being bound together, which represented the federal government. Each stick in that bundle was a separate unit and had an influence over the whole. Remove one stick and the bundle did not hold together. Each person, city, and state had a definite influence over the larger power. Palestinians and Arabs have been dehumanized for decades by our media and our government, and Islamophobia is still an accepted form of racism in this country. This racism is what led to the shooting of 3 Palestinian students, the stabbing of a Palestinian mother, and the stabbing death of her 6-year-old Palestinian son. All in small towns which probably felt that they had no influence over the national state of affairs, but in fact are linchpins. Where is the protective legislation? As leaders speak or do not speak, the population follows. Our media and our government have unleashed a terrible license for a force that must be checked. We're all sticks in the same bundle. We watch as the Children's Hospital is bombed with white phosphorus, which burns to the bone as parents pick up the remains of their children in plastic bags, as people starve and have no protection from the elements, as the tonnage of bombs that are dropped is now equal to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, as the damage to the infrastructure has now reached the point of no return. Additionally, there is a war in the West Bank that is not being discussed, where hundreds have been killed and thousands have been arrested and tortured, sometimes to death. And as of today, the West Bank is being bombed. This is a war of extermination. We are watching the deadliest conflict in modern times. The civilian proportion of deaths is higher than in all world conflicts in the 20th century. There is no separation of humanity as we collectively watch it in real time and are collectively responsible for opposing it. We criticize the calls and slogans for peace and accept the rampant hatred of those that call for more slaughter. The reason for all of these atrocities lies in the hatred and greed that has always erupted throughout history. Israel's plan to take this territory for years that awarded drilling 2 weeks into the conflict. And as you abstain from representing the legitimate moral obligations of leaders of this community and the citizens of the world, we see that you choose to be another cog in the wheel of annihilation. You do not represent us. We are organized, our numbers are growing, and we will seek other representation. Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.47, Gina.
Gina Davison, Ward F. As always, I want to start by thanking the council for their time and attention and their energy in representing us. I'm here tonight to ask you to continue the work that you've been doing in holding our city accountable for the type of policing that's happening right now. You know, watching the budget hearings with Director Shea, if you look at some of the details of what he's asking of you to approve, he's continuously asking for more tactical training, more hires, all things that result in problematic interactions with our community. We're seeing things, line items like sniper training, but what we're not seeing are line items like de-escalation training. And that's what I'd like to ask the council to start pressing on, is where is the de-escalation training? Where is the accountability when police barge into somebody's home and kill them when all their family did was ask for help? With Andrew Washington being murdered in August, this city's reaction to all of that has not been thorough enough. And I want to continue to ask the council to help us get justice and figure out how we can continue to de-escalate the tensions in our city between the police and the community. There's been finally some studies on de-escalation training and how effective it is. The first study just appeared in the American Society of Criminology Journal, and it shows a 28% fewer use of force incidents reducing after de-escalation training. Also, what's been realized is a 26% reduction in civilian injuries, reducing things like the city's liability when situations like this occur. And most importantly for Director Shea to be aware of is that these kinds of trainings can lead to a 36% reduction in officer injuries. And so if he's really concerned about the safety of his officers, he would do well to look into beyond this Tomahawk security company, private security training group, and look to other options to help his police force be able to respond to the community in ways that we actually are demanding. Thank you for your support.
Our next speaker, 5.48, Terry. Terry here? No. Next speaker, 5.49, Tyler.
Good evening, Council.
My name is Tyler Newcomb. I'm a resident of Ward B. I sit on the board of Bike JC and Safe Streets Jersey City. Firstly, I want to encourage you to vote in favor of the resolution to support a multi-use protected path on the 14th Street Viaduct. And I want to thank Councilman Saleh for your cooperation in this and your work in moving this forwards. The 14th Street Viaduct is a critical connection between the Jersey City Heights, Union City, and Hoboken. Its current configuration is not safe for most road users. The viaduct has highway width lanes and speeds of 50 miles an hour. Alternatives, such as Patterson Plank Road, which recently saw 3 killed in a high-speed crash, and Mountain Road and New York Ave are also dangerous for bikes. Hudson County unintentionally installed a demonstration bike lane last year while installing guardrails on the viaduct, with no significant impact to traffic over the course of construction. Residents deserve safe transportation options regardless of how they move, and supporting a bike lane on the viaduct is a small step towards achieving that. With my remaining time, I'd like to tell you a story of a girl named Lily. Lily was a 3-year-old girl who lived in Chicago with her parents. Lily loved going for bike rides on the back of her mother's bike. Lily and her parents were biking to school on the morning of June 9th, 2022, when Lily, on a child seat on the back of her mother's bike. Her mother was riding in a bike lane and came across a utility truck that was parked in the bike lane just before an intersection. Lily's mom was forced to move into traffic besides a semi-truck to continue forwards. As the semi-truck moved forwards, it struck the handlebars of the bike, causing it to fall over, and Lily was thrown underneath the truck and crushed by the rear wheels. I hope that none of you ever have to witness anyone being crushed by a truck. In my work as an EMT, I have. It is gruesome, it is violent, and it is traumatizing. I cannot imagine the pain of a parent having to watch it happen to their child, an innocent 3-year-old girl. Lily was killed because a driver chose to put their convenience over the safety of others and to park in a bike lane. The driver chose to do so because of a series of policy decisions that made that possible, made it easy and cheap. As elected officials, you sit before us all tasked with making similar policy choices. When you consider the changes for fines for blocking a bike lane, I ask you to ask yourself whether Lily's life was worth more or less than $175. Thank you.
Next speaker, 5.50, Eliza.
Good evening, council members, and happy Hanukkah. My name is Eliza, and as a member of the Jewish community of Jersey City, I am increasingly concerned at the growth of anti-Semitic rhetoric and activity in our city. From stickers and graffiti in the historic downtown and Paulus Hook neighborhoods to directed and personal attacks on businesses, business owners, and their families, many members of the Jewish and Israeli community are feeling increasingly uncomfortable and unsafe in our city. When members of my community see stickers and graffiti that say, "End Zionism, Zionism is terrorism, from the river to the sea, and long live Intifada," we feel that our Jewish existence and the existence of a Jewish homeland is being threatened by our neighbors. End Zionism implies ending Israel and those who support it. From the river, that is the Jordan River, to the sea, being the Mediterranean Sea, Palestine will be free, implies wiping out the state of Israel as it falls within these borders. And long live the Intifada? While Intifada literally translates to shaking it off or uprising for Jews and Israelis, it carries the meaning of the first and second Intifadas were terrorist uprisings and support for, were terrorist uprisings supported by the PLO in the 1980s and then Hamas in the early 2000s, violently killed Israeli citizens for being Israeli. Additionally, graffiti and destruction of public property is becoming a problem as well. One example at Van Voorst Park saying Muslims hate you is harmful to both the Jewish and Muslim communities in Jersey City. When local business owners choose to hide behind their businesses on social media and use them as a bully pulpit, results can be detrimental. There have been issues with not only Jewish businesses being attacked, but their owners and families being publicly named and attacked as well. We have had to go so far to involve council representatives from the wards that these businesses are based in to stop the slander and hateful attacks. I myself have had to address issues of anti-Semitism specifically by those whose job it is to protect the city, and I'm currently working with the appropriate authorities to address this experience. These actions are done in hiding, under the cover of darkness, or behind social media. I am here as a member of the Jewish community to ensure that this anti-Semitic rhetoric is brought into the light. If it is not, we fear that this language attacks will only become more visceral, as they have generation after generation for the Jewish community, from ancient Greece through the Nazi Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were killed just for being Jewish. I ask you, our city council representatives, that you condemn these anti-Semitic actions. I also ask that you condemn anti-Arab and Islamophobic attacks. Attacking your neighbors in such a way is unconscionable. I ask that you create a plan to address this growing hatred and increased vitriol towards Jews, Arabs, and Muslim community members. I ask that you begin to address the growing animosity in your own community before it reaches a point of no return. I ask that you create a framework where these issues can be brought to the attention of those tasked with representing us and keeping us safe. Finally, I ask that you create a city that is safe and welcoming for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, 5.51, Mira.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. First of all, I wanted to thank Councilman Saleh and Gilmore and Borgiano for voting yes to a resolution last week that was going to support Jersey City with anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. It took the United States 2 years to get involved in World War II, even though our government knew that there was a genocide taking place in Germany. I think that the Jewish people who were being marched into the concentration camps were wondering, why isn't anyone helping us? Do they want us to die? Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank are wondering the same thing. And our elected officials are turning a blind eye. I'm sure the Jewish people who were being exterminated would have wanted any compassion or support they could have gotten from the United States, whether it be at the federal level, the state level, or the local level. A gentleman at the last board meeting who was angered by the ceasefire resolution said that the resolution wouldn't have been even submitted if it had not been for Yusuf Saleh, who is Palestinian. But he is wrong. He was wrong. Yusuf may have submitted the resolution, but he was responding to the wishes of his constituents, many of whom spoke so eloquently and convincingly at the last council meeting. It is no secret that United States citizens have lost faith in their government, which seems to put special interests, money, and power above the interests and desires of the majority of people. My friends told me to leave this issue alone, that I would be speaking to deaf ears. But when 2 million people are being displaced and being denied food, water, and medicines, and when children are buried under rubble with no hope of anyone coming to save them, and when children have to undergo brain surgery to get rid of shrapnel without anesthesia, and when women are undergoing C-sections without anesthesia, and when 23,000 people, including doctors, reporters, professors, and artists, have been killed with our weapons of mass destruction, and when 200,000 people may die this week of starvation and dehydration, the situation in Gaza is desperate. I may be speaking to deaf ears, but I am imploring all of you to stand with humanity, not politics, and resubmit the ceasefire resolution.
Thank you. And our last speaker for the night, 5.52, Nicholas.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. If I'm not mistaken, I believe there's supposed to be or will be a vote on an ordinance to amending fees and charges related to vehicles that park or block bike lanes. As someone who works doing food delivery in the downtown area, I would most definitely urge each of you to vote yes to finding these drivers that block the bike lanes in our city. It is not just irresponsible, but it is illegal. It forces not just myself, but other cyclists as well to swerve into oncoming traffic, risk collisions and danger, which can be a struggle in itself when there are bikers riding the wrong way, not just on e-bikes, mopeds, but scooters at such high speeds. We shouldn't have to fear for our safety of being injured or worse, killed due to the negligence and recklessness of these drivers. In fact, just today, I was almost hit on Washington Street in front of Avalon Cove. A driver ran a red light as I was merging into oncoming traffic due to the bike lane being inaccessible to the construction. I believe in New York City, you can report idling for vehicles for a reward if you have video proof of them idling for 3 or longer minutes. I believe such a program would be a good thing in Jersey City, not for that, but for cars that are blocking the bike lane illegally for 3 minutes or more, not for reward, but to show them that our city needs to do better. Every day I see drivers double parking. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
You. Okay, that will conclude our public speaking. Moving on to our regular business, but before we do that, Council President, I believe Councilperson Ridley would like to make a few statements.
So I just wanted to go on record and just say thank you to everyone, to the residents that reached out and called and sent emails and text messages during my maternity leave. I really appreciate it. To my council colleagues that made sure that they were there to support me, kept me in the loop all the way. To Sean with me calling and saying, I can't hear, there's no sound on the video or the recording isn't up. To my aides that held the office down, everybody just was really supportive and helpful during this process and made sure I didn't miss a beat. So I just wanted to publicly thank everyone for all your kind words and your support. Thank you very much. Lennox says thank you also.
Welcome back. And
You're back.
yeah, and he's adorable, by the way. Wait, stop. Don't influence him yet. Please, let him make his own decisions. You did it to your own family, Councilman. I mean, you know, you got tattoos. Stop. All right, enough of that. On to items 6.1 through 6.16. Any questions or comments on petitions and communications? Hearing none, there's only one Office of Communication, 7.1. Any questions or comments? No reported directors, and on to our claims and addendums number 1, 2, and 3. So council members are going to be taking a vote on claims and addendums number 1, 2, and 3. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Gilmore voted earlier. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Claims and addendums number 1, 2, and 3 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our resolutions. Okay, council members, going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.13. Again, that's items 10.1 through 10.13. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Just want to say for 10-9, I want to thank Councilman Solomon and Councilman Amy DeGise for co-sponsoring this with me. I know that we take road safety very seriously, and we've been listening to the Bike JC folks. We had meetings down at the viaduct with county officials. I've had meetings with Hudson County Executive-elect Craig Guy. He is supportive of this, and 6,000 pedestrians use this viaduct every day, 600 cyclists. It's been supported by the mayors of Union City, Hoboken. There's been respective resolutions for both. And I'm hoping that this third resolution will be the thing to push it over and make it a reality, because we deserve safe streets for everybody. And with that, I vote aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye, and thank you to my colleague for bringing 10.9 forward, and hope that we see the protected bike lane on the viaduct.
Councilperson Gilmore voted earlier. Councilperson Rivera.
On 10.9, really good job, council colleagues, for that. Bike JC, you continue to knock it out the park. Keep on doing a great job as well, advocating for the bikers out there. And I vote aye on everything.
And Council President Waterman. Items 10.1 through 10.13 are approved 8-0, with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next set of resolutions. We'll be taking a vote on items 10.14 through 10.23. Again, 10.14 through 10.23. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Bajiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
I vote aye, but I also want to go on the record, with 1014, not just for 1014, but if we can reach out to the firefighters, because they are in desperate need of gear. They're like at one uniform each, so if we can reach out to them and, take care of that. I vote aye.
And Council President Waterman. Items 10.14 through 10.23 are approved 8-0, with Councilperson DeGise absent. On to our next set of resolutions, items 10.24 through 10.34. Again, that's items 10.24 through 10.34. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. Items 10.24 through 10.34 are approved 8-0, with Councilperson DeGise absent. For the balance of our resolutions, items 10.35 through 10.42. Councilperson Ridley.
Abstain on 1036 and aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary. Councilperson Bajiano. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Solomon.
I'm going to be no on 1035 and 1040. I just want to say on the record on 1040, we're in a tough situation and there's no good way out of it. But I do want to state, in the budget hearing in June 1st with the finance department, I asked a very specific question, asking them what the preparations we were making for tax appeals. At the time, they gave very short, small answers. Nothing happened. I followed up after that and wrote multiple emails to the administration asking for reports on tax appeals and how those might be affecting our city's financial position. Didn't get any answers. And now we sit here in December with a $21 million liability. So would have been difficult to I want to be clear, there was no way to avoid a problem, like no matter what with the budget here, with the tax appeals, we were going to be in a difficult situation. But it is extraordinarily important that we are using every tool in our toolbook and are fully planned. And we have a memo in front of us, which I think is the right first step. But a couple of things we have to do, obviously, know every single possible tax appeal and what our possible liabilities may be. So as we plan the 2024 budget, we know how much we might lose in tax appeals. We need to file reverse tax appeals at a significantly greater rate, including some of the ones that were on our list today. Those are residential buildings that sure in 2021 had lower rents, but rents have gone through the roof. So we need to file reverse tax appeals against the largest residential buildings on this list. And those all need to be filed. I forget the exact date, but we'll work with the administration on getting them done. And then, we just continue to need to spend as responsibly as possible. We have these tax appeals, we have the accumulated absences. These are going to be paid not by taxpayers next year, but over the next 5 years. The MUA bonds today are going to be paid out of the next 30, 40 years. We are increasingly pushing costs onto future taxpayers, and it's going to harm future city governments. I just had to get that all on the record. So no on 35 and 40 and aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Gilmore voted earlier. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman. If you would just allow me to recap. Item 10.35 is approved 7-1 with Councilperson Solomon voting no. Item 10.36 is approved 7-0-1 with Councilperson Ridley abstaining. Item 10.37 is approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. Item 10.38 is approved 7-0-1 with Councilperson Gilmore abstaining. Item 10.39 is approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent. Item 10.40 is approved 6-2 with Council members Solomon and Gilmore voting no. And items 10.41 through 10.42 are approved 8-0 with Councilperson DeGise absent.
Motion.
Okay, before we entertain a motion to adjourn, I just wanted to say on the record, happy holidays to everybody here and everybody watching at home. And again, thank you, JCPD, for all your help during the council meetings. It's greatly appreciated. And just to advise, your clerk will be turning a year older this month. So just wanted to put that out there. Motion to adjourn at 9:07.
Sean, can I wish you a happy early 29th birthday?
Oh, I could talk to you guys all night. Maybe we won't motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to adjourn at 9:07 p.m. was made by Councilperson Saleh, seconded by Councilperson Solomon. On the motion to adjourn at 9:07 p.m., Councilperson Ridley, Councilperson Prinzeri, Councilperson Baggiano, Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon, Councilperson Rivera, and Council President Waterman. Motion carries 7-0 to adjourn at 9:07 p.m. with Council members Gilmore and DeGise absent. Remember, stay safe, everyone. Teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great and safe holiday and a very happy and healthy new year.